On this episode of the Soul Twin Stars podcast.
Right? Some people want to excel in their career. Some people want to have a big family. Some people just want to travel the world and be a nomad and just learn about other cultures.
Why so many people struggle with that is because they've never been allowed to be their authentic self.
Yes. How do we climb through every day through the sludge and the shit that is the fucking world?
Hi, I'm Lady Shadow, a witch with much to share, stirring the cauldron with magical self-care.
Hi, I'm Peaceful Nick, a medium divine. I chat with the dead and interpret every sign.
We are Soul Twin Stars, best friends through it all.
From spells to healing, we're answering the call.
From moon cycles to menopause and making peace with the dead.
We aren't afraid to talk about what's rarely said.
So tune in each week to get raw, real, and wise.
Let's talk about a spiritual life with absolutely no disguise. Welcome to the Soul Twin Stars podcast, Uninhibited Spirituality.
We'd like to first thank this week's episode sponsors, Beans and Buttercream Bakery. They ship the most delicious baked goods anywhere. Follow them on their Facebook page, Beans and Buttercream Bakery. Also, Abernathy Photography, serving Western Kentucky and beyond, specializing in digital photography, weddings, and so much more. They now also feature drone photography. You can book them at abernathyphotography.com. And lastly, if you find yourself in Westchester County, New York, just north of New York City, Fino Restaurant in Croton-on-Hudson, New York, serves the most delicious, authentic Italian food. That's Fino Restaurant, Fino. And now, back to our episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Twin Stars podcast. I'm Peaceful Nick, the medium, a medium divine, joined by the amazing Lady Shadow. How are you today, Lady Shadow?
Thank you, darling. Joined by the fabulous Peaceful Nick, the medium. Right back at you twice.
Yay! I'm riding in today on a spaceship because a UFO, an alien spaceship. The reason is the wonderful and amazing Eric von Daniken passed away this weekend. And I have followed his work, even though I'm a scientist, for my whole life. He's been working on ancient astronaut theory my entire life. And I've listened to him talk before he was ever on television. I've watched hundreds of episodes of Ancient Aliens. I've listened to him on Coast to Coast, all the shows he's been on. A wonderful, inspiring man who dared to go against the grain, even when people disliked him. And he said, these were questions I was asking. I wasn't saying aliens built the pyramids. I was saying, what if something, such and such and so and so. So my heart goes out to the ancient astronaut community and Eric von Daniken's family, and especially his BFF, Giorgio Tsoukalos. So shout out to all of them on this day. And I'm sure he is flying with all the aliens now, because now he knows for sure, right? Once we pass away, we know everything.
I think we also get the knowledge that we allow in, right?
Yes.
So when we pass, everyone, make sure to connect with your consciousness if you can, if your death is not unexpected. I always say, consciously pass, pay attention, ask the questions, ask for your beings and your angels and say, hey, I want to know this. I want to see this. So please show me everything, because apparently if you're not ready for certain knowledge, you're not going to get it. But if you are intent on receiving it and you're okay with it, just like when you go out into the paranormal field, you're going to find more if you're okay with whatever comes in, right?
Yes.
So when you ask for it, you shall receive. So yes, rest in peace for the rebels and the free thinkers.
Yes.
And we always say, you and I, what we say here is up for pondering. We don't claim to know facts about anything in this world except for our own experiences that we perceive. And so everyone, take it as a grain of salt, but as long as we keep talking and inspiring each other, I feel like that's the most important takeaway anytime you engage with your fellow human beings, whether it's on a platform like this or whether it's in person over dinner.
Yes, I agree. Rebels who dare to push the boundaries. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is an actual scientist. This is kind of dichotomous to Eric Von Daniken, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about the bigger vat of knowledge we get, the larger our knowledge base becomes, the more facts we get to know, because there are facts. Okay, not everything's up for grabs, right? If I drop my Burt's Bees, the fact is it's going to hit the table, right? But the more facts we know, the more facts that grow, he says, so too does the perimeter of our ignorance. And I think that is such a gorgeous saying, the perimeter of our ignorance. And that's why I studied astronomy, because I will never, ever, ever know all of astronomy. It's impossible. You can't know it all. And that's one of the things that appealed to me the most, because the more I learn, the more I want to know, the more there is to know. You never know it all. And I think that we need to continue having curious discussions with respect, right? You know, if a fact is a fact, no matter what you believe, another quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson, we need to realize, okay, when we're having a discussion, when you and I are having a discussion, Lady Shadow, sometimes there are facts and we need to agree that these are facts. Then there are other things neither of us know if they're true. They're beliefs. They can be our own truth, but it's not a fact necessarily. So society as a whole, especially right now, we're going to talk about this tonight, needs to decide that we agree on actual facts before we have any discussion about things we believe. Because right now our society is all over the place and it's causing great harm to everyone. Even people who may believe one way, think their lives are getting better, they're also being harmed. So we need to talk about that tonight. And so I really enjoyed Eric Von Daniken's work, and people like Graham Hancock as well, who push the boundaries, the fringes.
I love that man so
the
much.
Fringes. Yeah, exactly. He gets lambasted a lot, but nobody can ever prove him wrong.
He does. If you don't have a good argument, or you won't come on and talk with someone, at least debate it.
Right.
It looks like you're running from something.
Right.
Just sit and talk about it.
Well, he had a debate with
he was on Rogan.
Flint Dibble or Dribble or something. And that guy, listen, I believed Graham Hancock more after that debate with Flint Dibble, I think is his name. He didn't prove anything wrong that Graham Hancock was saying, and he used incorrect data charts that weren't matching the claims he was trying to make. So I get mad when mainstream scientists, and I'm a mainstream scientist, but I'm also a medium. I get mad when mainstream scientists stick so hard to their facts, but they misrepresent the facts to try to tear other people down because of fear, their ego. And they don't want their textbook that they wrote or the paper that they wrote to be proven wrong. And that goes into Göbekli Tepe proved all the archaeologists wrong.
Yep.
Which is on my bucket list. Anyway, so
when you go there, I'm going with you.
Okay, I'll tell you, I would love to do that. Definitely on the bucket list. And when I pass away, you were talking earlier about, we get to know what we want to know when we pass away. My goal is to find out all the mysteries of the ancient civilizations on Earth.
I agree. I would love that.
Incredibly fascinated by that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got a spiritual bucket list and you have a physical bucket list.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Everyone should have one of those. And starting off our conversation about finding joy in turbulent times, which segues that. First of all, divine moments. My darling, have you had any this week?
I've had so many divine moments. I had my husband, the wonderful Coach Willett, on my YouTube channel. I like to call him as the anti-bro podcast man. He is an actual masculine man that also understands reality and loves and respects women, which is wonderful. So if you know some bros who are being indoctrinated right now, please send them over to my YouTube channel to watch my talks with Coach Willett, because he's much more realistic than these other people who give a lot of false information. And he's not misogynistic, and he's not a big fan of the patriarchy necessarily.
Yeah.
And that was one big divine moment. My other is I started a professor job at a local college here. And so I'm teaching some astronomy classes. So I am super excited about that. And they kind of found me. I wasn't really even looking for a job. And I'm like, well, here we go. You don't know what's going to happen with the economy. So let's sign up for this. And so that started this week, and I'm thrilled getting to know my students.
Well, and not for nothing, but anybody who studies under you is blessed.
Oh, thank you.
And lucky that they have your viewpoints and your guidance. So teaching is, as much as the classroom experience is not as fulfilling in person as it would be online, educating, I know that that is a secondary passion of yours, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you. How are you guys doing now that you're home and settled in from your trip? And what kind of divine moments? You were talking about your hot tub earlier. So what kind of divine moments do you have going on?
Well, I think I've mentioned in the last 4 months, I've been on a serious fitness kick in order to get stronger with my skating. I ice skate, and I do what's called ice dancing. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. Now, I don't do it at the level Olympic where I get thrown around and flipped around and I do all these crazy twizzles. But I am teaching myself to skate with a partner over the last couple of years, which I've never really done. And it's teaching me a whole nother level of like fitness level, artistic teamwork physically, which, you know, I'm very athletic, but I'm not the most graceful. So it's teaching me to be graceful back in my body, but more importantly, being back on the ice after a little sabbatical in this last year has been so nice. So I get to do that every Tuesday, and I get an extended practice because I know somebody who lets me skate longer on the rink.
Yay,
I get the rink to myself. So that's kind of fun. And so I've been enjoying just being on the ice. And I know I've talked about it before, that it's like kind of my church, that and being with my horse, because I have to stay in the present moment when I do these things, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. Staying in the present moment more often. And when I'm forced to keep my 5'11" stature on a 4mm, 5mm blade, I'm on my skates, I'm like 6'2" or something like that. So that's a lot further to the ground than 5'11" or 5'1", you know? So I have to stay in the present moment, and I have to feel my body, pay attention to things, but I also want to get lost in the feeling of the ice beneath you. So it's nice to be back doing that full force, and not just as a hobby, but as fun fitness. And there's just something about the cold going by you and the feeling of being light enough to just glide along. And it's just really refreshing and calming. You'd think it would be the opposite, more exciting and scary, but it's not for me. It's very calming. So being back into that and having really good sessions this last month that have been successful, no stumbles, you know, I feel like that's divinity right there. It's like connecting with my body spiritually through the physical act of doing something you love physically. So, but doing that, and then of course in another month or so, horseback riding will be more back because it won't be icy and snowy. My horse for me up there. But those are my divine moments, just getting back into everything I love and creating 2 new shows this spring. And then I'm going on a trip in 3 weeks, which you know about. I'm going to Eastern Europe this year, Hungary and Prague. Can't wait to explore those places. And other than that, divinity is all around us. And again, that's our subject for tonight, is how to tap into that joy and divinity that is always ours for the reaching. Because like you said, shit's looking bleak out there for so many people. And our hearts are with you. We are one of you, everybody. We are not millionaires. Far from it. We are working class like everyone else. Just because we're entrepreneurs does not mean we're millionaires. We're with you all. We are in the trenches with everyone else. And so you and I are always talking about, how do we climb through every day, through the sludge and the shit that is the fucking world, right? Mm-hmm. So we're here to talk about that. We're here to help everyone grab onto a mindset where we can crawl a little easier, eventually stand up, dust ourselves off, and try to create, first of all, our own little world of peace and joy. And then once that can happen, we can kind of spread our wings, and hopefully the rest of it, the butterfly effect, can kind of stretch into our communities and bring more calm to everyone else.
It's so important to build community. I've been talking about that a lot. And I just want to suggest here at the top of the discussion about building joy, a couple of things. What's happening in our country right now, this is January of 2026. What's happening is unprecedented for the United States. It has not been this way before. People, ICE agents going to doors and just forcing their way in without warrants. That is not legal, and it's not normal. They're trying to normalize all of this fascist behavior, dictator behavior. Luckily for us, we have 100 years of documentaries, movies, and books about the Holocaust and what happened. And people are like, how'd they let it happen? Well, we're smarter than that, and we're Americans, and we are not going to let this happen. Now, Congress could do better. We should have Democrats out screaming every single day from the rooftops on every news program they can get on and on social media, talking about how horrible this is. So they need to really step up. They need to step up, 10 years ago, they need to step up. And now is the time. Do it. Or, what's going to happen. So I would say we need to, right now, pause the video, everybody who's listening, text or call 10 people you love right now and ask them to do the same. Text or call 10 people you love. Every love vibration that goes out raises the total vibration. And the people who are making all of this horror and ruckus that's happening in our country are depending on us to get sick of it, tune out, allow it to happen. Renee Nicole Good was murdered in cold blood by an ICE agent. Why? Because why? What's the reason? The news will tell you all kinds of crazy stuff. She was a mom who just dropped her kid off. She was in the street, and I don't even know what the ICE agent wanted from her, but he killed her. And then he called her an F&B afterwards. That is not normal. It is not legal. And that is murder, no matter how you slice it. We cannot normalize this. We must make it stop. There are more citizens than there are people in charge. That's from a cartoon movie. Ants or A Bug's Life, one of those movies. Yes. Yeah, one of those movies said that. So we have the power to take back our country. We cannot allow this to happen. And we have to start with love. Violence is never the answer. We have leaders who we elected who are supposed to be protecting us. Call your representatives. Call them as much as you can. Tell them. Make social media posts. If you can't march in the streets, I can't march in the streets. Do what you can and also spread love.
I agree 100%. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, sadly.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
and the other thing is, at some point, having expectations for a group of people that are technically all working for the same entity is, for our minds and our action plan, it works because it gives us a sense of purpose that, hey, I did what I could as a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
But expecting results is the same as,
God grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yes. Love that. Yes. And so at some point we do need to surrender. We need to create an action plan and then surrender to it, because if we obsess about it over things that we cannot change and we've done our part, we have to move on from it and send it peace and love and good vibes and allow the healing and the butterfly effect to happen. And that happens with more people, A, waking up, B, going through this experience. And I'm not going to say laugh at it, but I'm going to say take it less seriously, because some of the shit you see in the media is provocative on purpose. It wants to divide, it wants to get you worked up, it wants to stress you out. And really, not even what you see should stress you out. There's always a healing mechanism on the back end to do on your part without feeling divided, disconnected, angry over something that they want you to feel.
It's by design.
Exactly.
The chaos is by design.
Exactly. So we don't want to give them the satisfaction of our lives being in chaos, because that's exactly what they want.
Right. They want us to do that. So I would say it's okay to stay informed, but you don't need more than 5 or 10 minutes a day of the news. And I always tell my clients this when they're struggling with things: turn off the news, turn it off. I know people who play certain news programs in their house all day long, retired people, of course. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's so negative, and their life reflects that.
Right.
And so you don't need that. Personally, the past week or two, I've been watching a lot of ancient civilizations videos, because I work from home. I put it on in the background, and it keeps me from ruminating over the horribleness of the world.
Good.
I'm doing my part in the ways I can. We're spreading as much love and knowledge as we can without being negative as much as we can. And telling people we can build communities and get better together.
Yes.
When we are divided, divide and conquer. That's the thing, right? They are trying to divide us. They've been doing it forever. It's just the last 10 years, it has ramped up. Social media has not helped. Bots from other countries, that it's an absolute fact that they have been paying for ads, targeted ads from other countries to certain counties and districts in America. And so we can't just allow this to happen. We have the power to take control of what is happening and not allow this. But we have to keep a wise mind, not a chaotic, angry mind. Anger solves nothing. Violence solves nothing.
No.
We have to keep our head on straight.
Yes. Chris and I had a lot of deep talks this weekend while we were working on things. And we came to a lot of cool conclusions, but I came up with this really great metaphor about the escape room, right? So our lives in the earth, they make us feel in this system like we're in a room with no solutions that are calm, no way to get out of,
Right.
for instance, shitty job, taxes, horrible neighbors. Like there's
The vomit jobs. The vomit jobs.
vomit jobs. Yeah. It's like all of this stuff, right? And I feel like the only thing that, I don't know if you've ever done an escape room. I'm sure some people have here that are listening. You get very little clues. Just like in life when you're born, a parent has no idea what to do with this kid except basically keep it alive at first. And then you learn what you're going to teach your child, etc. What morals you're going to instill, when, how. So an escape room, same thing. It's a room, everything's locked, shut. You can just look around at your environment and say, okay, what needs to be done here? Not really
I'm terrible at escape rooms, by the way.
They're very hard.
I'm terrible.
I've done about 3 of them, 3 or 4. But I learn a lot about myself too when I do them. And there's so many parallels in life. So Chris and I were talking about those parallels and how, we're always feeling like if we're not listening for our own guidance and we're not seeking it, then we're just kind of standing in the room going, okay, what do we do next? I need a clue. But the clues are already there if you look around. Because in a room, the first key or the first window that unlocks or the first door that clicks open happens because you're paying attention. You're looking around for ways to put the puzzle together. And when it clicks, you get to move to the next room, right? And it only happens when you have the authentic answer, the one answer that unlocks that lock, that door. Authenticity is always at the forefront of unlocking your potential and what you need and what brings you joy. Your divinity just exists in you, but you need your own keys to unlock it. And that is through authentic truth telling about what you need, what you want to experience. And I feel like that is the number one thing, because everybody has a different goal being human here, right? Some people want to excel in their career. Some people want to have a big family. Some people just want to travel the world and be a nomad and just learn about other cultures, right? So I think whatever it is that's in you that's authentic to what you feel your mission is, every time you get into a room and you're not sure, just go back to your authentic self. Well, what does this make me feel like? What does that make me feel like? And slowly but surely, as soon as you connect with that, the doors start to open.
Right. Exactly.
Because you're removing the stress of, oh my God, the panic of, oh my God, I'm locked into this room. I'm locked in this earth. Like, what do I do? There's so many choices. I don't know where to begin. But if you just silence all that for a second and say, well, just think about why I'm here, who I am, what my talents are, what my desires are, suddenly, like I said, those doors naturally open. And if you've ever been, again, in an escape room and, because the creators are listening to everything you're saying on the other side of the room. So when you say something, when you figure something out and you do something, boom, like you hear the click and you go to the next spot. So our creators, or our divine highest self as a creator, however you want to look at it, whatever you believe, right? When you connect to that, the answers come quicker, the solutions come faster, and joy can move in with it. So when I say, when you're stressed or freaking out about the world, Chris and I have this new thing. We'll just laugh at the stress, laugh at it and say, it's just a bill. Like, it's not life or death.
Right.
Yes, there are more serious times, obviously, to be appropriate and not laugh and to say, oh my gosh, I have to really take care of the situation, or, somebody's sick. Then empathy comes in. But things like that are happening in the news, the ridiculous clown show that we're watching right now, that's straight up comedy. Like, you got to just laugh that shit off because it's so ridiculous and so obvious what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
You can't let it get to you.
Right. Well, I want to say 2 things. I want to talk about authenticity and critical thinking. The issue with the authenticity and why so many people struggle with that is because they've never been allowed to be their authentic self.
Yes.
Like Aunt Jen said in one of our talks together, my authenticity was not welcome here. I think she was on Soul Twin Stars and she was talking about that. And it's like, So many people don't even realize that. They have no idea. They don't even know it's possible to be their authentic selves. And that's why independent thinkers, rebels like us, we rub so many people the wrong way, because people who don't know who their authentic selves are can't even conceive of being free enough of mind to do what they want, because their parents, society, their spouse, their partner, their best friend, whoever it is, has told them repeatedly who they are. When you have a young child and you tell them you're going to be a doctor, or you're a smart aleck, or you are other horrible things parents tell their children, it makes them believe it. You're programming your children to be what you're telling them they are. Now, I am not immune from that. My kids are 26 and 28, and they're wonderful men, but I made mistakes as a parent. I'm shocked that I made less mistakes than I thought I would have, But I am aware that I was not a perfect mother. Yeah. And my husband is aware that he was not a perfect father. And we have to own that. But we did our best to give our boys an independent mindset to figure out who they are. I'll give an example. One of my sons, very high IQ, book smart kid. They always put him in AP classes every year, and I always took him out. And I asked him his freshman year, I said, listen, you can stay in all these AP classes, and because he was a 3-sport athlete, I may have told the story before. You can stay in all these AP classes and go to any college you want, because he's that kind of super genius, real book smart, doesn't have to study for anything. Or you can just take honors classes and have more of a normal high school experience and still go to a state college, because I'm not going to be able to pay for Harvard or Yale anyway, or Stanford, right? And so he decided to just take the honors classes and have a more normal, less pressure high school experience. And I let him make that decision. I didn't care if he took the AP classes or the honors, didn't matter to me. I wanted him to have agency over himself and not be so stressed out that he hated school. So many parents stress their kids out because they're like, if you don't do what I expect you to do, my love is conditional. And that's not good. And then we have all these kids who've grown up like that, who are now wreaking havoc in America because they weren't given any skills to become their authentic self. They were told who they were. They didn't know who they really were. They still don't know who they are. And on top of that, they never learned to critically think because they were forced to do A, B, C, and D and didn't get to think and figure anything out. So critical thinking and authenticity, those fundamental skills and abilities, however you want to define them, are really important to people.
Yeah.
And I think the whole problem with violence and narcissism and egotistical behavior that is wreaking all this havoc is caused by parents who don't know how to be parents because their parents didn't know how to be parents, not accepting people for who they are and loving conditionally. It's a fundamental problem. And if we taught kids how to meditate from day one, we'd solve a lot of this.
Agreed. And for those of you who have traveled abroad, Chris and I have been to numerous countries around the world, over and over, many times over in some spots. You can see the difference in the culture over there. You can take the same age child, put them in a restaurant that is similar to TGI Fridays here in the middle of Paris, Scandinavia, Denmark, Amsterdam. You will see a huge difference. in the way that the parents speak to the child,
Mm.
the way that the child behaves. And I don't know if it's the food, which I'm sure it's a lot of that, because over there they've banned a lot of the shit that's in our food here that
Oof.
causes all these kids hyperactivity and whatnot. But there are definitely societal and behavioral differences between cultures over there and here. You'll see a teenager on a train unaccompanied by a parent and so well behaved, thoughtful, holding doors open for people. 13, 14-year-old kids acting like they're 25 already. It's a whole different thing. I'm not going to say it's 1,000% better, but it's noticeably better. And I don't know if that's because of the universal health care. Like I said, the difference of the food, it's the community, or it's just that they're a little bit more ahead of the times as far as taking care of their people, and the educational system, it's more accessible there all the way through college.
And think about the having healthcare, free, essentially healthcare,
Yeah.
and education, and maternity leave and
Yeah.
vacation for the parents many weeks a year in most European countries.
That's right.
The
6 to 8 weeks.
stress level is so much less on the adults.
Yes.
So they have time and the bandwidth to deal with teaching their children things and being there and loving them and being more compassionate and open. Now, I've never been to Europe, so I can't speak to this, but I would just make an educated guess that not having to worry about a $3,000 insurance premium every month.
Yep.
Not having, my daughter-in-law is about to have a baby and she doesn't get paid maternity leave. She's got to borrow weeks from people, right? Like, this is 2026.
I know. And you're not going to stress out in the first 6 to 8 months of raising your baby, because in Scandinavia, you have a state appointed nanny that comes in and helps you.
Wow.
And the maternity leave, of course, is super long periods of time. So again, months, not weeks. So you get to spend time learning about your baby, taking care of them, nurturing them. And you never have to worry about your medical bills bankrupting you.
Right.
Here.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's absolutely ridiculous when you compare the cultures. It's like when I go over there, honestly, it's really, really hard to come back. Some people are like, oh, I can't wait to get home, back to my A1 steak sauce and my outlet malls. It's, for us, it's just like, that's just.
Every time you come back.
I want a calm community garden, living, sitting around the fire, hiking, fresh air. That is where it's at. Eating, nutritious food that doesn't have glyphosate in it, which is banned over there compared to over here, and which is a lot of the problems with the inflammation and the gluten intolerance here. And I could just go on and on. But, and again, I know that many of you listening probably know this already because you've gone over there. And Nicole, we've got to get you over there sometime. Because it's such an education to see how the other half lives. And I know that it's not perfect. Some of you will say, oh, the taxes you have to pay to opt into that system. First of all, I live in New York and I pay out the ass in taxes for all kinds of stuff that I don't really get benefits from. Okay. And so what I pay in taxes in New York is about equivalent to what you would pay in taxes in Scandinavia for
all of that,
all that service. Yeah. So I don't want to hear that it's so much more in taxes. That's all.
Well, that's propaganda, though. That's more propaganda.
That's all porn and making it still sound like, oh, we live in the best country ever. But anyone who's not left this country cannot compare how different it is in other places. Now, of course, there could be worse places than here. And then it could be argued that, hey, it's not the place. It's what's between here, which is true. Right? It's between the ears. Like, again, going back to how we can create our own joy in between our own two ears and it not be an external thing. That's kind of what spirituality is. It's being in complete control of your perception, of your mindset, of your own feelings, regulating your emotions, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, I know, like you were saying a minute ago, removing certain things that cause these anxieties. For me, removing, like you said, 90% of television. I know people that all they do when they come home from work, they eat dinner and they binge watch until 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then go to, I can't, I have dropped most of my television consumption by literally 90%. And I cannot believe how much more I'm in the world, in my little world of creativity, so much more in touch with that. And with like a daily connection with myself and the world and the earth. It's so weird. And I think part of that too is that I live in a more rural area than like straight in Manhattan, because I can connect with the trees and my horse, and I can go outside barefoot and put my feet in the pool or the hot tub. And that is a game changer, I think, too. But I still feel like more than ever, with the ease of the phone, you have so much access to crap that will layer up your brain over and over and over. And the stuff that I do consume, honestly, the only thing I consume is probably podcasts to, like you, to educate myself on the world and more peace and learning, like you said, about ancient civilizations, learning about this place, learning about the next level of places after we leave here. That feeds my soul, right? Yeah, and I work in entertainment. Like I work in the theater, and then when I get my other scripts onto television one day, but my stuff it's laced with all that spirituality. It's laced with that depth. So I feel like there's a good place for my creations in the world where we need it. It's not just mindless violence, mindless, brutal sexuality. Have you noticed the amount of shows on television that are these cop shows? And every episode is about rape. Or
I've never watched one. I can't watch them because they're so violent. I don't watch anything violent.
But when I go get like my nails done or something, or they'll have it on in a bar or restaurant where I, grab a snack with my husband, and I just look at the TV and I'm like, why is that on? Why is it always some horrible rape case? Like, it's like, and there's, I think,
because they want to normalize it.
Yeah,
I want to add to that. And then I want to talk about tying this to joy, your creative endeavors. But there's a commercial, and I won't say the company because, you don't want to get sued, but they're advertising tacos. And it's a fast food place.
That must be Burger King.
And they have a young, beautiful woman. And there's like this long, skinny taquito type piece of food. And it has some kind of white, creamy dip on the end.
Uh-huh.
And close up of her lips, taking a bite. Then they cut to, and if you've seen this commercial, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They cut to the same beautiful young woman sipping from a straw, close up on her lips. And I said to my husband, I said, do you see that? And he's not paying attention. He's Instagramming. And he's like, what? I go, look at how they are over-sexualizing this young woman to make her look like she's doing things to sell tacos.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are we at that point in our society to where you have to sexualize a taco?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. So I absolutely get what it makes me sick every time I see it. It's like, if that was my daughter and she was making that commercial, I'd be like, no way. Absolutely not. No. But back to your artistic endeavors and not having to live in Manhattan, not living in Manhattan anymore, living in a more rural area. Can you tie the connection to your creative endeavors to joy and how that helps you in your life? And second question, when you lived in Manhattan, because lots of people who listen live in big cities, how could you recommend to people to have joy in nature if they live in a big city?
Well, one of the things that my husband and I agreed on when we first moved to the city, because we started out in the burbs, 30 minutes out, and then went full on Manhattan, Upper East Side. But we did have, well, the first apartment we had was on the top floor. So we had the roof. We went on the roof a lot to get fresh air and to look around and to feel like we had an outdoor space to kind of commune in. Then a couple of years later, we moved at the bottom floor, which was great because there was an outdoor space. We had a little
I remember you were so lucky
it was
to have that space.
beautiful, and we were there for 15 years. And we had a hot tub out there even, and the dog could go out, and we built a little fountain, and there was a big rock. We're talking like a 25-foot rock in the back that was.
I remember you used to send me pictures.
Yeah, that actually blocked the other buildings from looking over into our yard. And so we made a little sanctuary back there. For pennies, we created a little pond with a waterfall coming down the rock, and we had little lights back there. It was absolutely glorious. So we did the best we could. But on top of that, and honestly, this apartment wasn't much more expensive than a random apartment on the second floor with no outdoor space. It really wasn't that much more. So it was worth the sacrifice to pay what we paid. But we decided to keep our car while we stayed in the city. Now, not a fancy car where we had just bought something brand new that would get banged up, because there's parking on the street, which is what we took advantage of for free, but you have to move your car every couple of days. It's a pain in the ass. But because a garage there in Manhattan was upwards of $600-800 a month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we weren't, I'm like, no, that's out of the question. I'd rather have my horse than pay for parking. So yeah, a couple days a week we would have to move the car, but having the car to get out when we wanted to get out, whenever we wanted to get out, to go just shopping or hiking or skiing or wherever. And then when I got my horse before COVID, or rather during COVID, but before we left the city again, having the car to get to the barn to hang out with Sully was awesome, but there are a lot of people that, like you're saying, cannot afford a car, can't keep a car, don't even have a driver's license. And so they've got to use the parks. They've got to use, getting out to one of the rivers and walking along the river to feel like you are away from either edge of the city, right? Mm-hmm. But you can also pop on a train, Metro North or Long Island Railroad, and go in either direction, east or north, or even into New Jersey. And there are plenty of places where you can get off the train station, you can hike, you can hang out in a small little town for the night. And, you can use their kind of public transportation. There's a little bit of taxis and Ubers and all these little river towns where you can easily access from the city. But that's what I would have done had I not had a car. I would have just hopped on Metro North, went to one of these little river towns, stayed like on the river, and then went out into nature from there, because all along the Hudson River, for instance, there's a train that goes all the way to Poughkeepsie for pennies to ride up on. And you can get out at any of those towns and explore, and you feel like you're in a whole different world. It's really, really nice. But not everybody knows about those opportunities, and it is important to get out. I think a lot of people that come to New York City go back home to visit a lot, so that I work with a lot of actors, and so when they come in and don't have a car and live in their little cement jungles, and they're there, for too many months at a time working and acting, they say, okay, I need a little break. I go home for a couple of weeks every 4 months or whatnot, wherever home is, Ohio, Texas, North Carolina, a lot of transplants here. And so I think doing that is also very important. So overall, get to a park, get outdoors, get your feet on soil, not on cement. That's the big one. There's a big difference between soil and cement. Let your feet feel the grass. Even if you go to Central Park, you can ground out there. There are wonderful places in Central Park that are not crowded with somebody taking a piss right next to you out in the open. They're beautiful.
Yeah, that's the problem in big cities. And I want to address that. I want to have an I've had it moment. I've had it with big cities who don't have any clean bathrooms for the public to use. It kept me, because I grew up in San Francisco, how I survived, I don't know, going places.
Same thing.
Because I have to go to the bathroom. Women have to go to the bathroom more than men normally of a certain age.
Yes.
And it's like, yes, I know there are homeless people and people who graffiti and do all kinds of things, but maybe do better with keeping up the bathrooms, like hire somebody to do it. I don't know. It's just, it's hard to deal with.
It is. And
It's not joyful. It's not joyful to be out and about and not have a place to take a restroom break because you want to go experience joy.
And you know what else is not fair? Is in Europe. And I know they're trying and everyone's working on it to make that exact experience better for everyone, you know, in a city. Like I think Paris has these urinals that men can walk up to. It's not illegal to whip it out, stick it in this
Outside?
public urinal. It looks like a trash can with a hole, like a little glory hole type urinal. And
Outside?
Yes, they can just walk up and whiz right into it. But where is the woman's reprieve for that, right? So it's once again, it's like, okay, well, that's great for half of the people. But what about the rest of us who have to scramble, like you said, to get into a cafe? Or now in Europe, there used to be way back when I first started going to Paris in the early 2000s and late 90s, there were pay toilets. You can put in a franc or, you know, a pound, like if you're in United Kingdom, and, you know, you can just use the bathroom. But even now, you're paying money to ride a train in from another country. And at the train station, it's still a lot of pay toilets. You can't just walk in. Yeah, you have to have change with you.
Well, I'm definitely not going to Europe then.
No.
Because I'd be broke just going to the bathroom.
It's getting much better. And there's cafes everywhere. So it's a little easier now than it was back in the day because it was like, I refused to kind of use those porta potty paid things. And I always waited to get to a restaurant. But now you can walk into a restaurant pretty much anywhere. There's always a McDonald's, a Starbucks. There's always a little cafe where you can pop in and use it. Now, if you're a guy, like I said, and you're like, let's say the Eiffel Tower is surrounded by a lot of grass, you know, and on all four sides of the Eiffel Tower, there is shops, cafes, big fountains.
Oh, I imagine it's a big tourist.
Yes, it's a huge spot. And they've expanded it a lot. But the bathrooms now are a little further trek because if you're not going to visit the Eiffel Tower and going through all the security where there are restrooms, but if you're just hanging on the outskirts, you got to kind of walk a little bit to the far corners to get back to the streets where there are public restrooms. So, you know, I just know where I go to plan kind of for the bathroom, but it shouldn't be this way. Like you said,
right.
Basic things as a human being should be accessible both in cities and the suburbs, even though it might take a little bit more manpower to keep it clean or keep it maintained. This is still another work in progress.
You know, I want
to make the fucking earth a more enjoyable, easy place to access and just to the basics to be a fucking human being.
Well, you know, back in the day, well, first of all, you'll shop longer and spend more money in an area where there are accessible restrooms. So people should know that. Back in the olden days, when you went to a grocery store, if you had to use the restroom, it was way in the back down a hall and it was always disgusting. And it was one room for the employees and it was always dirty and disgusting. Now, big box stores have the restrooms up front. The grocery store I go to down the street from my house has a restroom up front. Everything's always clean now. And it's like, they're getting it, but we need to, this is a lot of bathroom talk. But I think it's so important.
But we're talking about the simplest of things.
Yeah.
Right? It's
to
like,
bring me joy. I'd be so much more joyful if I knew I didn't have to plan every single thing out if I'm going somewhere.
Yes.
I know I can go to Disney World. There's a bathroom every 20 feet in Disney World. I'm in pure joy there. I'm healing my inner child. I can go to the bathroom anytime I want. They're always clean. You know, that brings me joy. It's safe there.
Agreed. So. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. And I don't want to deter people from traveling because things are a little bit more of a challenge. Yes, everything is a challenge here. Just to be alive here, to wake up to see you know who on the television every day is a freaking challenge, right? But the joy of this kind of challenge, going out into the unknown, exploring the world, new cultures, the smells, the bakeries, the food, the cobblestone streets. Every street looks different, just like when you're walking through New York. Every street looks so
Or
different.
at Epcot.
Exactly. But for those of you who do want to go international, I don't want to deter you, because traveling is the best education you will get. Seriously.
Absolutely.
On the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've lived all across the country in several different states. I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived in the South. I've lived in the Midwest. I've lived a lot of different places. And although I'm not a world traveler like Lady Shadow, I learned a lot about living in a bunch of different places. And it molded who I became as an adult. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. And just to wrap up here, one of the lessons I used to teach my students, because I taught in Savannah, Georgia for many years, and some of the students never left the town or the state. And they had this very closed-minded view of the world. And they thought this world where they were was the end-all be-all. And I always recommended them with Lady Shadow in mind, because we've known each other forever and she's always traveled. I always told them, please travel. Please travel as much as you possibly can. You will learn so much more than you ever learned in school if you just travel.
Yes. And even if you just go to a neighboring town, if, like you said, if you haven't gotten out of your town, cross a state line, drive to a couple states.
Not if you live in Georgia, don't go to Mississippi and Alabama. That's not really what she means.
Yeah, because you're gonna, if your topography is the same, maybe make it a habit to go, let me go to another state with other topography.
City with a different population number.
Yeah, absolutely.
Live in a town with 1,000 people, maybe go to a city with 1 million people.
And how would you know who, again, let's go back to finding authenticity. How would you know, right, who your authentic self is if you haven't explored your inside world and your outside world? So every time you have an opportunity, go wherever. It's also much cheaper to travel than it ever was. I know everyone thinks it's so expensive. Level Airlines, which is what I paid to go to Barcelona, for $125 each way. Okay, from
that's amazing.
It's a 6.5-hour flight to Barcelona. It's 7.5 coming back. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes less. 125 going out, 150 coming back. Okay, that's cheaper than going from Texas to Florida.
That's cheaper than going from Savannah to Atlanta, and that's in the same state.
So try, and you know what we're paying per night on average to stay in Europe in these beautiful old cities, between
$50,
$60 and $70 a night.
That's incredible.
For these 4-star places.
That's incredible.
If anybody wants to figure out how to budget travel, put it in the comments and I will give you hookups.
Oh, let me tell you, if you want to travel on a budget and get an itinerary made, Lady Shadow's your lady.
I don't pay for all these vacations I go on to Europe. On average, 12 days we're gone, and including air, including air, transport, traveling between a couple of different cities, eating, and hotels, I don't spend more than $1,500 a person. That's about $100 a day, including everything added in. Like it's insane. Of course, we don't come home and bring a bunch of stuff from shopping. We don't go to Europe to shop. We go to Europe to explore. So
experiences.
Yes,
experiences will bring you joy.
Yes.
Joy. Remember, as we wrap up the final minute here, call or text 10 people you love, preferably call 10 people you love and ask them to do the same. We must raise the vibration and spread joy. It's the only way we're going to get through this together, building a community of love and joy. Lady Shadow, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting.
Again, always. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week, and we love you all.
Love to everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us this episode for the Soul Twin Stars podcast. Find us on our podcast Facebook page for Magical Mondays live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where we will help you magically slay your weekdays, and for awesome giveaways. For more information about what other spiritual things Nick and I do and offer, visit peacefulnickthemedium.com. That's Nick with just a K. Or to connect with me, Lady Shadow, soulsandspirits.com is the place to go. If you want to be a guest on one of our shows, we would absolutely love that. contact us at soultwinstars@gmail.com. See you next Friday on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Facebook, and on YouTube. Sending you all so many blessings. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, know that you are all cherished.